So yeah, thank you for that. Just want to ask a favor of everyone. If you've got loans that you're wanting to get purchased by the end of the year, it would be super, super helpful if you could get those to us by midweek next week. I've got, just like most of the industry, I've got a short staff, and we'd like to be able to enjoy our families too. So if you could get those to us, we'll get them reviewed and get them bought for you. And that's about all I have. So we can get on with why everybody's actually on the call.
That's awesome. Hey, if you're on the call right now, if you have a way of muting your own phone, let's try that first, because I kind of want to keep it open in case Stephanie wants to ask a question or if someone has a question. But if it gets a little crazy, I'll just mute everybody, and then you can use the chat functionality inside the Level 3 conference to ask a question, and I'll try to get back with Stephanie on that. But well, without further ado, Stephanie Rembert is the Director of Government Underwriting for Cornerstone, and she's going to talk about VA and appraisals and the notice of value. So Stephanie, welcome to the CLD 411, and we'll have you take it away.
Okay, great. Thanks, Troy and Angela. As they said, I'm Stephanie Rembert, Director of Government Underwriting, and the presentation today is part of a VA Lunch and Learn series, and it's to go over not necessarily how to specifically review an appraisal, but how to review appraisals for VA. Things that are different over and above your normal review of the comps and the property and the condition and all those things that you would typically review. These are the things that are specific to VA. And then how to issue the notice of value appropriately. So let's get started. Okay, we have several items to review an appraisal. We have a government appraisal checklist. I don't know if that's on your CLD site, but that's something we can work on. VA appraisals, even though they're not run through UCDP, please remember that they must be UAD compliant. So be sure you're checking for those things. And then the chapters 10 through 15 in the Lender's Handbook are the chapters that deal with the various sections or areas of appraisals. Okay, so starting at the top of the first page of the URAR, make sure the following things. Case numbers on all pages. Currently, the borrower, under the borrower field, it should list the actual veteran's name. I know this changes back and forth periodically, but right now they want the actual veteran's name. The lender client field should show the appropriate lender name and VA. So as an example for Cornerstone, it would say Cornerstone Home Lending and VA. And then the appropriate lender's address. Remember, appraisals can be transferred from one lender to another, but they can only be used for the veteran for which they were ordered. So if you have a file that's transferred in because an appraisal was done for a previous borrower, that appraisal is not good for this borrower. They can only be transferred borrower to borrower. Contract sections need to match sales concessions. Neighborhood section. There are several VA statements that need to be in the appraisal throughout the appraisal, and we're going to go over those shortly. Site needs to have the noise zone statement, that the property is or is not in a noise zone, and if it is, which zone it's in. And in the sales comparison approach, there are specific comments needed anytime you have a comps over 1 mile, sales over 6, and over 12 months old, and any adjustments that seem excessive or large. Cost approach. In this section, the remaining economic life is always should be here, but you do not put the site value unless the cost approach is fully completed. So basically what you need to remember is that this column on the right-hand side, it's either fully completed or it's blank. The RAM dates. RAM is an old term because it means received, appraised, and mailed. And obviously now we don't mail things anymore. But that's still the dates they use. The appraiser should be marking when they receive the assignment when they actually appraised the property and when they sent it in. Because timeliness is key. That's one of the key things that the SAR, or the staff appraiser reviewer, is responsible for. It's making sure the appraiser is completing the appraisal within the timeliness standards. Some areas are 10 working days, some are more, some are less, but there's links I'll show you that you can go to that will tell you the timeliness requirements for the area that you're appraising. Okay, this is the link. If there's any reason that the appraisal is delayed beyond the timeliness standard set, the appraiser needs to make a note, either that he couldn't get into the property or he had a computer problem, or it could be anything, but he needs to say why. If he doesn't, the SAR should be contacting them to say, why did you do that, and you need to make comments. The SAR should also be making the comments in the VA system, the web LGY, to say that they acknowledge that the appraisal was late, but that the appraiser made notice of why it was late, and that shows that it shows VA that the underwriter acknowledged it. So that's what they're looking for. Always remember, anything that you feel VA wants you to do, they need to be able to see that you've done it. And the way for them to see it is for you to make comment about it in the VA system. Repairs. Anytime there's a repair, VA requires a cost to cure, except on new construction. Signature page. There should be a little comment right here under name that says no AMC, because there is not one for a VA. Specific comments. These are the different these are the comments that are needed to be in the appraisal. They don't have to be in a specific area of the appraisal, but they do need to be in the appraisal somewhere. The listing statement or trend certification. This is the verbatim that they wanted, so that it's listed here. You should see this somewhere in the appraisal. Marketing time and trends. They need to say, in the average marketing time in the area, is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Give some examples, or give some verbiage to that effect. If there's any sales concessions or financing concessions going on, they need to be noting that. The sales price list ratio. This is also called the supply-demand statement, and it can be listed separately, or it is a field now on the 1004 MC, so it's okay for it to be listed there. They don't have to list it in addition to that. Here's some examples of an appraisal we have where they've listed all these items. This is page 3 of the URAR, and they can be here. Some appraisers use an addendum. Some of the software actually has a VA addendum. Depends on which software they're using as to where they'll put all these items. Additional specific comments needed. The exposure time comment has to be in the appraisal. The appraiser has to state if they've performed any service on this property in the past 3 years. And then if it's new construction, or proposed construction, I'm saying it correctly, they have to certify that they have seen the exhibits and they need to describe the exhibits. And that could be just something as simple as, like it says here, Smith construction plan. Or it could be, for the builders that have plan numbers, it could be that as well. Additional items needed. The distance of the comps from the subject must be listed on the location map. They want distances there. Sketch and photos need to be fully reviewed to make sure they match. So make sure you're seeing all the bedrooms, bathrooms, porches, etc. Make sure they feel that the URAR comments at the top of page 2 need to match the 1004 MC. If they don't match, there should be commentary from the appraiser as to why they do not match. Final inspections do not have to be on a specific form. and you do not have to have pictures unless you specifically request them. So they can do a letter. It's fine. Okay, Tidewater. This is a weird name for a situation when you have a value coming in below the sales price. What happens is the appraiser, the VA appraiser, will notify the person who is listed as the point of contact on the order that the value is coming in low. That's all they have to say. And what happens is at that point, the production side would have 48 hours to provide the appraiser with what they feel are comps sufficient to support the sales price. Obviously, you would need to, if they're NMLS, you could give them those information. You could, if not, they need to be grid, put on a appraisal grid like a page 2, and those types of things. The SAR typically is the one to contact the appraiser as this goes back to them, because once you're starting to talk about valuation and concerns like that, the appraiser wants to be speaking to the SAR or the underwriter on the appraisal. So once the appraiser gets that additional information back, then they issue the value, or they issue the appraisal with the value. At that point, you can continue to try to support a higher value if you still are below, but this is just a specific timing that goes along with this. Okay, so Troy, you want to unmute? We can see if we have any questions so far, because some of that's kind of weird.
Check.
The Tidewater especially.
The conference has been unmuted.
All right. Do you guys have any questions so far?
Anybody have to deal with the Tidewater before? Reconsideration of value process? Well, aren't you lucky? Okay. New construction. VA has several areas of construction. They have existing. They have new construction, which is either fully complete but not occupied. And they have new construction could also be a property that's under construction but up to the customer preference stage. And then anything constructed less than that is considered proposed or under construction. This is just a little grid to talk about the warranties that are required. So when you're doing a 1 year, when you're doing a 10-year, and different things, inspections versus warranties. As I said, these are the 3 distinct stages of completion: existing, new construction, and proposed under construction. It's important to note that you order your appraisals correctly. I was just talking to Pat Hawkins earlier about appraisal that has a little bit of an issue on it because it was ordered as proposed under construction. So that's the way the appraiser appraised it. And many times they will not back down from that. Even if the property is 100% complete, it will be in there as proposed under construction because that's how it was ordered. He has to have a final. He has to review the exhibits, all the things that you would have just as if the house was half done. So be careful about this part. Customer preference. This is just a little more information about what is customer preference. Things, they're looking for the things at the end, that the house is basically complete, and you're just looking for the things that the customer chooses, such as wall finish, paint, flooring, appliances, fixtures, things such as that. Okay. When you're doing a property that's subject to repairs, if the home is existing or to the customer preference stage, the appraisal should be marked as subject to repairs, and then you get a regular final from the appraiser. If the home is proposed or under construction, the appraisal should be marked as subject to completion. You can ask for an appraisal final, or you can get, there's some building permit and certificate of occupancy options as well. We'll get to that shortly. Okay, so this is something new, the LSAM. And this is similar to the UCDP and like a like a core logic. It is a core logic. What happens is when you go into the system, and I'm going to go forward here for just a second. When you go into the system to pull down your appraisal, there is now a link here to the LSAM. That is an automated review of the property, and it will have findings. And so, now that you have that available to you, you need to review it and make comments to it, make any corrections necessary from that, just like the UCDP. There's training on this, and you can see that it's referenced in Circular 26-15-21. So you review those. You're supposed to address them, and you're supposed to, on our side, we will be uploading, the LSAM will need to be sent to us, and we will be putting it in a specific bucket. But all those issues that are listed on the LSAM need to be addressed. Just like the UCDP, some will require you to request items from the appraiser, and some will not. Some just need to be addressed. And how you have overcome them, or it's just a notice for you to make sure you feel comfortable with the appraisal and things like that. Again, this is where you would pull it up. Okay, so now, completing the notice of value. You've underwritten the appraisal, you've addressed all your issues, and now you're ready to actually complete the notice of value. One of the first things that you should do is check the local condition site to make sure that if there's any local conditions for the area that you're underwriting. Do you need a termite? Do you not need a termite? Is there anything special for this area? Things such as that. Make sure that before you issue the NOV, that the property address, the city, the street number, street name, etc., all those are correct prior to issuing the NOV, because once you issue it, most of these items cannot be corrected. And I can tell you that we have learned recently from our Houston Regional Loan Center that when you have to call VA after the NOV is issued and ask them to make a correction, then those appraisals will be pulled for audit. Not that we're scared about that, but it's just one more thing to deal with. They could be, finding things that we've missed, and it's just another level of stuff that we'd rather not go through, except on our standard percentages. So be sure you're making extra careful sure that the names and the addresses and the cities and the streets, all that is accurate before you issue. Okay, so now we're going to go to the different sections of the NOV and when you need to mark them. So number one is always marked on existing construction, never marked on new or proposed or under construction. It talks about some requirements if you want to roll in energy efficient costs straight on top of the loan and what you can do and how you do that, but it's only applicable to existing construction. Termite inspection. Make sure, depends on if you're in an area that requires termites. If you are, existing is 2A, new construction is 2B. 3 is for lien support assessment. So this is any homeowners association or special assessments. So even if your property is not currently assessing at this time, if it can assess, this should be marked, and you can put 0. Condo, to be eligible, a condo must be VA approved. You must enter the VA approved condo ID number before an NOV can be issued. So it doesn't stop you from ordering the appraisal, so I would be sure that before you order an appraisal on a condo, that you make sure that you have a condominium approval from VA. Water and septic. You must always have proof of acceptability for all water sources, including community water. That's a standard. Septic systems You must have acceptability for septics for all proposed through new construction, as well as any properties where the appraiser indicates an issue or there are some local condition requirements for different areas to require a septic on everything. It also, if it's financially feasible and available, VA requires public hookup, so the appraiser should be commenting about that, whether or not it's feasible. Private road. Private road maintenance agreements are required, and number 7 should be marked. We have many of them that are in the HOA that maintains the road, but you still mark this. But you could use the documentation from the HOA to meet the requirement. Flood insurance. It has to be marked if you're in a flood zone, and note that if you are not existing but your property is in a flood zone, there are specific requirements needed to make the property eligible for VA. So be careful about that. Airport acknowledgement. If their property is in a noise zone, then this needs to be marked and there are certain requirements to be met. Repairs. You only use this box if the property is existing or to the customer preference stage. Everything should be itemized. The lender can certify to everything except paint or repairs outside of their ability. So, meaning if you have a final that needs to be an electrical repair, unless your loan officer is also a licensed electrician on the side, he should not be doing a lender cert on that. And you would never use item 10 for proposed or under construction properties. Number 11, you would use this in areas with specific requirements and housing or planning authority codes. So an example would be a historic neighborhood. That would be an area that you would mark number 11. So now 12 through 19 are all part of the new construction requirements. So if you're existing, you pretty much stop at this point. But so 12A is what we mark. We don't have a scenario right now that we're doing that VA would intercede with construction complaints. So it's 12A. 13, which is the 10-year warranty. You only mark this one if you're doing proposed or under construction, if that's what they're utilizing to meet VA requirements. New construction to the customer preference stage only requires a 1-year warranty. So that would be number 19. Even if the builder is providing a 10-year warranty, you're only marking on the NOV what is required to be done. The builder can provide more, that's fine, but it's not required to provide a 10-year warranty in that situation. Energy efficient and lead water distribution. These are marked on new construction to the customer preference stage, but not on proposed or under construction. Let's see here. Off-site improvements. This again, this applies to any new construction document from proposed to new construction if the different off-site improvements such as sidewalks and streets have not been completed. This proposed construction, you would indicate here, this is the plan number or the name of the plans. You know how we said earlier the appraiser should indicate on proposed or under construction he had reviewed the plans entitled blah blah Smith home plans. That's what would be identified here as well. Construction inspections. This is a requirement for proposed or under construction NOVs only. So if the builder is providing a 10-year warranty, then you check 18B because VA only requires that the lender certify the property as being 100% complete. Signed by the loan officer. It's a CHL policy to obtain a final inspection to confirm the house is complete prior to the loan officer signing the 100% certification. You don't list that final on the NOV because it's not required by VA, but it is a requirement of the file. And also remember that the veteran may not pay for a final inspection on any property that is in any stage of new construction. That is the seller's responsibility to make sure the home is complete. It's not the buyer's responsibility. And VA does not allow the veteran to pay for that. If the builder on these scenarios is not providing a 10-year warranty, then you would check 18A, and you would have copies of the building permit and certificate of occupancy and a final. 19 is checked on all NOVs except existing construction. 20 is other. We don't normally put anything here. Sometimes as VA is updating their form, they'll ask for a certain requirement to be listed here until that form itself is updated, but until then, we're not using that. Okay, so how long is an NOV good for? Because as you can see by the signature, it puts the expiration date. It is 6 months. But you can get there are some ways to extend the validity period based on these items. Additional appraisal items. SAR comments. VA expects the SAR to make comments in their system anytime you request something from an appraiser, any notes on timeliness, anytime you modify an NOV, they want you to say what you did and why. The LSAM requirements will need to be in here. Anytime you have something weird going on, you need to mention what's going on. This is a newer, not new, but probably in the last year, VA requires all properties to meet VA minimum property requirements. VA will now allow the veteran and the seller to negotiate who will pay for the repairs. Previously to this, we would reach a stalemate because the veteran could not pay for the repairs, but the seller would not pay for the repairs on foreclosed and bank-owned property. So they've lightened up on that, and so now the veteran can negotiate that for some of the smaller things they may want to be done, but that the seller will not pay for. It just makes that process a little easier. Okay. If you have new construction, you're required to have a builder VA ID number. And if you're condo, you need to have a condo ID number. This is where you would look those up. There's the link on the web LGY page. And let me go back here. Just a note about this. I don't have a picture of it, but when you go in here, it says that it's a very specific search. So sometimes it's difficult to find things. But they use the asterisk as a wild card. So if you're trying to find, let's say, the word Temple County Builders, I have no idea. You could put TEMP asterisk, and it will pull up everything with the letters TEMP. If you put Temple County Builders, you have to be spelling it exactly as it's spelled in the VA system, or it will not return a finding. So sometimes if you have words that are possibly, maybe you don't know it's ABC Builders. It could be A space B space C. It could be ABC with no spaces. If you're looking for those types of things or you can't find your search, remember to use the asterisk. It will really help you get through that search process. Okay, resources. This is the SAR, link to the SAR homepage. So it has all the links on that page that you would use to underwrite the appraisal. The local conditions, the timeliness, the links to the lender handbook. All those things can be really helpful for you, all these things. VA has appraisal guides specific to each regional loan center. So if you deal with one regional loan center quite a bit, it would be worth your while to try to get their training material that they send out. Another way to get some assistance if you have weird situations is to get the email address for the construction evaluation department of each regional loan center. And that way you can email if you have situations you're trying to resolve that you can't seem to get resolved with the appraiser directly. And then chapters 10 through 15 of the VA handbook, like we talked about. 10 deals with just eligibility, new construction, things like that. Appraisal overviews are in 11. Minimum property requirements in 12. How to issue the NOV. All those items are in 13. Construction inspections are in 14, and the lender appraisal processing program, just kind of an overview and some administrative areas, are in chapter 15.
Great.
Okay, so I know that was a lot of information. If you
The
have any
conference has
questions,
been unmuted.
just let me know, and we could be about anything with appraisals.
Yeah, do we have any questions out there for Stephanie or for Angela at this point?
Can the material be emailed out to everybody so we have a reference guide for later?
Sure. Angela, I'll email you the PowerPoint and then you can send it out, okay? Is that all right?
Wonderful. Yep.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
You know what? Actually, if you want this, if you could email me and request it, and that way I'm not sending it as a blast email to a bunch of people who might not want it, that'd be great. So just shoot me an email saying,
Angela.
please send me the PowerPoint for today.
And what is your last name?
Breidenbach, so it's ABREIDENBACH @houseloan.com.
Thank you.
Great. Do we have any other questions out there on the appraisal process or the NOV process?
Any issues that you've run into the past that we can address, or problems that you run into with the appraisers? We all know VA appraisers can be a little bit cranky.
Yes, they can.
I'm not sure exactly. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why they could be, but
Good.
yeah.
Well, if we don't have any other questions, we'll go ahead and put the recording up on the Cornerstone Correspondent Lending website here in about 24 to 48 hours. If you want to re-listen to it, you can feel free to do that. But other than that, Angela, do you have anything else that you want to share or anything?
I don't. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Cool. And Stephanie, thank you so much. You did a great job, and it was really clear and concise. And again, if anyone out there wants the PowerPoint, go ahead and email Angela, and she will send it to you. So if there's no other questions, like Angela said, have a great Christmas and have a Happy New Year, and we'll see you in January with part 3 of our VA series. So everybody have a great week. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.